high-ranking member of one of America's most feared motorcycle clubs, was about to learn his fate. Philip Duran, known to his brothers as Bandido Fe, sat in the courtroom with an ankle monitor, awaiting sentencing on charges that could lock him away for decades. But Duran had a different plan. During a recess, in an act that shocked law enforcement and made national headlines, he calmly walked out of the courthouse, cut off his ankle bracelet, and vanished into the streets of Denver. The National Sergeant-at-Arms of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club had just pulled off one of the boldest courthouse escapes in recent memory. This wasn't just any fugitive. Authorities described Duran as a key player in a multi-million-dollar drug operation spanning several states. His escape marked the dramatic climax of a story that began 2 years earlier when federal agents launched Operation Tick and Flea Collar, an investigation that would expose the financial empire of the Bandidos and bring down some of its most powerful leaders. To understand this case, one must understand the Bandidos Motorcycle Club itself. Founded in 1966 in San Leon, Texas, by dockworker Donald Eugene Chambers, the Bandidos grew from a small Houston biker group into one of the world's largest outlaw motorcycle organizations. By 2014, the club boasted more than 2,500 members in 303 chapters across 22 countries, making it the fourth largest motorcycle club in the world. Law enforcement classified them as an organized crime group. Members proudly identified as one-percenters, declaring themselves the outlaws who lived by their own rules. Their insignia, the Fat Mexican, depicted a cartoon bandit wielding a machete and a pistol. Their motto was blunt: "We are the people our parents warned us about." According to the U.S. Department of Justice, the Bandidos were tied to drug trafficking, arms smuggling, money laundering, and other serious crimes. The FBI estimated outlaw biker gangs collectively generated more than $1 billion annually in illegal revenue. In Colorado, the Denver West Side chapter became a major hub for methamphetamine trafficking. At the center of the operation were three top-ranking leaders: Philip Lee Duran, 42, Bandido Fe. As National Sergeant-at-Arms, he held one of the most powerful roles in the club, responsible for enforcing rules and discipline. Investigators say he used his authority to manage large-scale drug operations across multiple states. Michael Derek Menson, 46, Bandido Tick. Another National Sergeant-at-Arms, Menson coordinated logistics and distribution, making him a vital player in the network. Lorenzo Luis Sojo, 41, president of the Denver West Side chapter. As chapter president, he controlled the territory and turned his chapter into the operational hub of the drug enterprise. This was not street-level dealing. This was organized crime, using the motorcycle club's hierarchy to traffic meth across state lines, launder money through banks and businesses, and smuggle firearms to criminal organizations. In September 2014, the Colorado Attorney General's Office and the Metro Gang Task Force noticed something suspicious. Senior Bandidos were living far beyond their apparent means. Expensive motorcycles, luxury cars, and lavish lifestyles didn't align with their reported jobs. Investigators suspected the Denver West Side chapter was at the center of a major drug ring. The operation was nicknamed Tick and Flea Collar, after two primary targets, Bandido Tick and Bandido Fe. What began as surveillance quickly escalated into a multi-agency effort involving the DEA, FBI, and ATF. Through wiretaps, undercover officers, and constant surveillance, agents began piecing together the true scale of the network. What they found was startling. The Bandidos ran their criminal enterprise like a corporation. Instead of products, they moved meth. Instead of business reports, they tracked seizures and police raids. The supply came from California wholesale distributors capable of delivering massive shipments of meth. Duran leveraged his national authority to secure these deals. The Denver West Side chapter under Sojo became the distribution hub, while Menson coordinated logistics and finances, but drugs were only part of the picture. The Bandidos were also trafficking weapons, buying firearms in states with looser laws, then moving them across state lines to places like Las Vegas, where criminal groups paid top dollar. The money laundering system was equally sophisticated. Instead of hiding cash, the club used structured deposits under $10,000, wire transfers, and investments in legitimate businesses to disguise their drug profits. Some corrupt financial professionals even assisted them in moving money across state lines. By early 2015, Operation Tick and Flea Collar had collected enough evidence for indictments under the Colorado Organized Crime Control Act, but investigators wanted to dismantle the entire network, not just arrest a few members. Wiretaps revealed damning evidence. In one recording, Duran negotiated the purchase of several pounds of meth from California suppliers. In another, Menson coordinated firearm shipments to Las Vegas. Sojo was caught discussing laundering techniques with associates, openly detailing how the club used businesses and bank accounts to clean drug money. Perhaps the most chilling discovery was how the Bandidos used violence as a business tool. Associates who failed to pay were threatened or beaten. Rival dealers who encroached on their territory were attacked. Even law enforcement officers faced intimidation if they interfered. The investigation exposed a criminal enterprise that operated like a multinational company with drugs, guns, and laundered millions at its core. An empire hidden behind leather vests and motorcycle engines. The investigation revealed that the Bandidos were not operating in isolation. They had forged ties with Mexican drug cartels, organized crime families, and international money laundering operations. By late 2014, investigators had compiled enough evidence to support dozens of charges against 3 of the Bandidos' top leaders. Still, they continued the probe for several more months to build a stronger case against the wider criminal network. January 28, 2015. The takedown. The Colorado Attorney General's office launched coordinated raids across the Denver area. Federal agents and local police executed carefully planned strikes designed to maximize evidence collection while minimizing risks, since the Bandidos were known to be heavily armed and ready to use violence. At Philip Duran's residence, agents uncovered evidence of the club's money laundering operations, including bank records, wire transfer receipts, and communications with corrupt financial professionals. Weapons and drug equipment were also seized. At Michael Menson's home, investigators found shipping records for firearms, communications with California meth suppliers, and detailed financial ledgers showing how the group tracked its illegal profits. At Lorenzo Sojo's residence, agents discovered customer lists, drug equipment, and communications with mid-level dealers, providing proof of the distribution network. The most significant seizures were 2.5 pounds of methamphetamine, valued at about $40,000, and $175,000 in assets, including cash, vehicles, and other property purchased with drug proceeds. 8 people were indicted as part of Operation Tick and Flea Collar, including the 3 Bandidos leaders and 5 associates: Hugo Vaca, Nicholas Mario, Julianne Nicole Lindbarger, Erica Navarrete, and Zacharia Bengier. The charges were serious, violations of the Colorado Organized Crime Control Act, similar to federal RICO, as well as drug trafficking, weapons trafficking, money laundering, and conspiracy. The prosecutions revealed just how structured the Bandidos' operation had become. Prosecutors described it as a criminal corporation that generated millions in revenue through drugs, weapons, and financial fraud. Overwhelmed by the evidence, all three Bandidos leaders eventually pleaded guilty rather than face trial. Michael Menson, Bandido Tick, was sentenced in November 2016 to 24 years in prison, one of the longest drug trafficking sentences ever imposed on a Bandido. The judge highlighted his national leadership role as evidence of his responsibility. Lorenzo Sojo, president of the Denver West Side chapter, was sentenced to 20 years in prison, reflecting his direct role in the Denver drug distribution network. These sentences sent a clear message. Law enforcement was no longer treating outlaw motorcycle clubs as biker enthusiasts who occasionally broke the law, but as full-scale organized crime syndicates. The most dramatic twist came with Philip Duran, the national sergeant-at-arms known as Bandido Fe. As the highest-ranking member charged and the alleged mastermind, he faced the harshest penalties. Released on bond with an ankle monitor, he was expected in court for sentencing on October 28, 2016. At first, the hearing was routine. Prosecutors detailed his role in moving millions of dollars in drugs. His attorney argued for leniency, citing his cooperation and limited prior record. But everyone in the courtroom knew the charges carried decades in prison. Then came the recess. Duran calmly walked out of the courthouse, cut off his ankle monitor, and disappeared into Denver. By the time authorities realized what had happened, the national sergeant-at-arms of the Bandidos was gone. It was one of the boldest courthouse escapes in recent history, an act that instantly became outlaw legend. A massive search began immediately. The FBI, U.S. Marshals, and local police launched a coordinated manhunt. Duran was considered armed and extremely dangerous, with ties to criminal organizations across the U.S. and internationally. His photo was distributed nationwide, airports and border checkpoints were alerted, and a reward was posted. But despite the sweeping effort, Duran vanished without a trace. One of the highest-ranking members of the Bandidos remained a fugitive, a living symbol of the club's defiance of law enforcement. Operation Tick and Flea Collar accomplished what many thought impossible, dismantling the leadership structure of one of the most powerful outlaw motorcycle organizations in the American West. The operation proved that motorcycle clubs like the Bandidos were not simply groups of rebellious bikers, but sophisticated criminal enterprises capable of laundering millions, smuggling weapons, and operating international drug pipelines. The financial losses inflicted, $40,000 in seized meth and $175,000 in assets, were only a fraction of the empire's revenue. But by removing its leaders and disrupting its network, authorities estimated they prevented millions more in future drug sales. The long sentences given to Menson and Sojo set new precedents, showing that the justice system would treat outlaw motorcycle clubs as serious organized crime syndicates. Most importantly, the case exposed how these clubs had evolved. No longer just violent gangs, they operated like corporations using modern financial systems, international suppliers, and structured hierarchies to expand their criminal reach. For law enforcement, the case was also a model of success. Multi-agency cooperation between the Colorado Attorney General's Office, the Metro Gang Task Force, DEA, FBI, and ATF. As for Philip Duran, his daring escape ensured his place in outlaw folklore. To the authorities, he remains a dangerous fugitive. To outlaw motorcycle circles, he became a symbol of defiance. The war between law enforcement and motorcycle clubs like the Bandidos continues. But Operation Tick and Flea Collar stands as proof that even the most powerful criminal networks can be taken down, and that the next time the Bandidos attempt to rebuild, investigators will be waiting.